Don Michael Sauls with the State newspaper. I know the transfer portal opened a couple of days ago. I'm just curious, how do you and your staff kind of go about balancing watching and recruiting out of the portal while simultaneously, prepping for the Sweet 16 and beyond?
I mean, it's part of our job, so it's part of the job description. So, I mean, we're talking to some people that we're interested in, at least talking to their representatives. That's just part of it. It's if you have a need, the transfer portal is more than enough in there to find someone that can help your program. So.
Right here to the right.
Roy Johnson from AL.com. As women's basketball has AL.com.
I'm about to say AOL. I was like, you're speaking my language. You're speaking my language.
No, we're the largest news organization in the state.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So as women's basketball has evolved over the last year or so, how has your role evolved beyond basketball, being a face of the sport, having discussions about leadership beyond basketball with your players? How has that role evolved for you?
I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm comfortable in my skin with dealing with look, sound, feel. If something looks, sounds, or feels off, then I address it. If it looks, sounds, or feels great, then I promote it. So it's what it's supposed to be. Our program has been very successful, and more times than not, the questions about the state of our game is directed towards the most successful coach. So I've been, and I don't mean to sound like I'm patting myself on the back, but it's just how it is in our sport. We just gravitate towards, who's had the most success to figure out, to get quotes about our game. I mean, I would probably say the same thing that I say today that I would have said 15, 20 years ago, but we were just still trying to become a prominent program. And now that we field those questions, and I only want our game to grow, even if that's the detriment momentarily to our program, and I'm okay with that.
Hi, Dawn. Alanis Timms with the AP. Kind of sticking with just the general women's basketball as a fan, a supporter of the game. How tough or unfortunate was it to see Juju Watkins go down for the season?
Really tough. Juju's loved by all of us. Juju is raising and lifting our game up with how she plays, with cornering the market when it comes to NIL deals. She's a business herself, and to see part of that not be a part of our NCAA tournament, something's missing. There's a big void, and we were fortunate enough to be one of her schools in the end. So I've kept in touch with her, her support system. I sent her a text out. The night of the injury, but it went green, so that means I don't have the right number. But her person sent me the right number last night, so I shot her a text last night.
Left aisle.
Andrea Adelson with ESPN.com. Dawn, you talked last season about the challenges coaching the team presented to you with so many youngsters. I'm wondering, as you headed into this season, whether you had a different approach with players coming back off of last year.
I think the biggest thing in winning a championship and then coming back is the players seem to forget how hard it was. Like we won, we were undefeated, and you can kind of get drunk off that success and think we could do it again, and it's much harder than they could have ever imagined. So we had to work through just not playing our best basketball early and not playing to the standard that we were used to. And, those lessons came with a few losses this season that we needed. Like every single one of our losses came at a time where we needed it, and we came out better because of it. and I hope it's enough to get us to the finish line.
Right here to your left.
Don Chaz Frazier, ABC Columbia. This is the 16th ranked team you're going to play this year. You never shy away about saying early in the year you schedule for this time. So describe how the gauntlet of schedule, the regular season, just primes for the biggest stage in March.
I mean, we manufacture our schedule, so we can, in the end, like now in March and April, we're prepped for styles of play. We're prepped for being seasoned and playing against highly competitive programs. So, I mean, it's what we've done. Like, it's what we've done for probably my entire career, or it's probably what we've wanted to do for my entire career. So it's not based on trying to pad wins, because we're not like that. We try to pad championships, and the only way you do that is you play, a really good competitive non-conference. The SEC is going to be super competitive, so we just like to prepare for moments like the Sweet 16 and knowing that it's going to be a hard-fought matchup, and hopefully we got enough familiarity to, if we're in a tight game, to finish it, to know how to finish it and not blink, not flinch, just finish it.
Right here.
Over here. Ben Pickman from The Athletic. General question, you guys, Texas and LSU, are all in the bottom 15% in the country in three-point attempt rate. I guess, how important do you think the three-point shot is to modern-day women's college basketball, and why are you guys able, you guys as a trio, able to have success without, taking a ton of threes?
Well, I would say one is personnel-based. Two is if you're not going to be able to control the three-point line, then you got to control the paint. So I don't know what the numbers are as far as controlling the paint, but I'm quite sure that connects all of those programs that you've just mentioned. So there's a way around it. Obviously, we got some players in that can shoot it. Probably hasn't shot it as well as we shot it last year. But when you make winning, points in the paint battle, when you make that an emphasis, you can, and you defend, you give yourself an opportunity to really win some tough basketball games and compete for a national championship.
Hey, Don, Cameron Teague with The Athletic. I'm curious just your thoughts on the two regional system. I know obviously in the past you had four, but I'm curious if it changes anything for your scheduling when you have all 8 teams, that you're trying to juggle practice schedules and things of that nature, or how it impacts you guys at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably it. You don't get a shoot-around time at a reasonable hour. Other than that, I mean, I actually like the two regions. I like having 7 other teams that's trying to advance to the Elite Eight and advance to the Final Four, right in one place. I do think it allows our fans of women's basketball to gravitate to one spot, and I know the attendance will be up because of it. So, bottom line, we need to drive revenue as much as possible.
Right here on the front.
Alan Cole, GamecockScoop.com. Just on tomorrow, you've faced Maryland the last 2 years, but not this year. Is this a similar-looking Maryland team to the ones you've scouted in the past, and what does stand out about them just as a matchup?
Not similar in their personnel, but similar in how they play. I think Brenda has this team. This is how she wants to play, and when you're able to play your style of play, you feel comfortable going into every basketball game. They will shoot the 3 ball. They will drive it down your throats. They got some bigs that can command the paint. They play up and down. They get up and down the floor. They want the game in the 80s and 90s and hundreds if they can. So I think it's very similar in the style of play, just different people. And she got some players out of the transfer portal and made herself a team, and they got great chemistry. You know, I think that is super cool that you can bring in as many new players and get them to gel. Super cool and happy for Brenda for that.
Right here in the front.
Cassandra Negley with Yahoo Sports. On Selection Sunday, you had kind of mentioned potentially changing your approach to scheduling in terms of the non-conference. Now that it's a couple weeks later, do you think in the future you'll maybe peel back with less top competition? Because you have played not even just a really tough schedule, but some of the very best teams.
Yes. And let me preface this, and I should have prefaced this a couple of weeks ago. Me speaking out about not being the #1 overall seed, I hope didn't diminish what UCLA earned and deserved and accomplished. I should have led with that. Me speaking out is more about what should happen in the future. So I'm speaking about the future and how you need to look at teams that manufacture schedules, you know, for that moment. If we're unable to get a #1 seed because we lost in a head-to-head, I mean, would you play that? You know, would you think about playing UCLA if they're going to use that against us? Would you think about if you lose to UConn, you know, by 29 points, but you still got the #1, you competed and you got the #1 schedule in the country, and you could never get it back? Like, yes, we have to think about that. We still wanna, you know, elevate our sport in the way that it should be and play these games. I say that as moving forward, but the competitor in me, we're gonna play the games. We're gonna play the games, but I do need the committee to look at it from our vantage point, which is, you're telling me we lose 3 games, and to play the schedule that we play, we can't ever be considered for the #1 overall seed. So, I mean, that's what I want them to think about, not necessarily diminishing, you know, the overall #1 seed, because, I mean, UCLA's had a great year. Like, they deserve it. We deserve it. Like, it's a topic of conversation. Well, I think we deserve it. They got it. What I say doesn't matter, because I'm not a decision maker, but I do need the decision makers to see another side of it.
Right here on the aisle too, right?
Hey, Don. Kareem Copeland, Washington Post. You talked earlier about, you know, the players sometimes forget how hard it was the year after. I'm curious, you know, now that you've done this, you know, multiple times, what have you learned about trying to make that run the next year as you get through the tournament?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, parity is alive and well in our game. And I do know that, you know, you have to be disciplined. Like, I mean, you have to create some really good championship habits in order for you to continue to get back to this place. You got to have really good coaches that do a really good job at scouting. And that's hard, because there are some really good teams that, you know, that can change their style of play in a matter of a second to give themselves an edge. So, I mean, it's hard, but that's why we do it. That's why we, you know, that is the pull. That is the very thing that we gravitate towards, because we know anything that's hard is going to be gratifying.
Last question right here.
Hey, Don, Doug Farmer, DAP. A 2-part question. First part is, did you watch the Maryland-Alabama game? Sort of, I know you're a huge fan of the sport. It's a pretty great game to watch. So just your thoughts of watching that game as a basketball fan more than just a coach. The other part is just a quick transfer portal question. Again, you've been very active in the past and very successful in it. Is the timing right for it to be now? Is there a time you'd say it'd be better if it was after the Final Four, or whenever you think would be the best time?
Yes, I watched it. Obviously, that was our next opponent. I watched it live. And I was actually cheering for the SEC, because I know how hard it is in our league, and I wanted our league to be rewarded for just being the best, most competitive league. That's just the SEC in me. But Maryland hung in there. You know, they hung in there, and they made an incredible comeback. And then you start, you know, you start looking at Maryland like, they came back. Should they win it? I was looking at it from a fan and not necessarily the next opponent, which is cool. So you can compartmentalize, you know, being a fan and being our next opponent and really appreciating. You know, I look at, I did text Christy and let her know, like, you know, I'm sorry they had to lose that basketball game. She worked extremely hard, and that's not, you know, that game isn't indicative of their season. And then Barker, I mean, you got to give it up. Like, I just, it's hard when someone you know is just pouring her heart out onto the court, and you come up short. You want it for a player that exemplifies, you know, the competitive nature of who we are as women's basketball players and coaches, enthusiasts and participants. And now the transfer portal. I mean, I think the timing is all screwed up. Like, it really plays on your ability to compartmentalize. It really plays on it. Like, if you aren't, I mean, most coaches are, but if you're not really good at it, you know, it could sidetrack you. But for us, the main thing at this point is trying to win another national championship. And the people that are in the portal, if they can't really understand that, there probably aren't ones that prioritizes winning the national championship. So, you know, it is, but you still have to do it. Do I? Yes, yes. You know, I'm going to call somebody, you know, when I leave here, a few people, just because you just got to let them know, hey, we're thinking about you. We got this run we're trying to, but you are a priority for us. So.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you.